Does God exist? Perhaps one of the most compelling arguments for God's existence is known as the Kalam cosmological argument. But even though it's such a compelling argument, there's still critiques of this argument. What are those critiques and how can we respond to them? I'm joined today by Christian scholar Dr. Travis Campbell, who's going to help us with that question. Travis, the Kalam cosmological argument is an argument that has been popularized by a number of Christian apologists, including Dr. Hugh Ross, who is the founder and the president of Reasons to Believe, the organization that I work for. What are some of the critiques of this argument, and how can we respond to those critiques?
The overall criticism of the argument is that it certainly doesn't give us certainty that God exists, because both premises, or at least the second premise, is based on more probabilistic lines of reasoning. Regarding the philosophical arguments for the origin of the universe, for example, they're not arguing that actual infinities are illogical or that actual infinities are incoherent in some way. Infinite set theory utilizes actual infinities all the time, and so they're logically possible concepts. So really, when I say something like it's impossible to traverse an infinite or actual infinities can't exist, I'm making a metaphysical point, not a logical point. And as Craig and Sinclair say in their essay on the Kalam argument and the Blackwell Companion to Natural Theology, metaphysical arguments or metaphysical impossibility is a woolier notion than simple logical impossibility. Now, that gives an advantage to the argument. On the one hand, you can't just say because an actual infinite is logically possible, that therefore means that the argument is unsound, because we're all granting the possibility of these things. But because it's a metaphysical argument, it does open itself to the idea that really we haven't established the beginning of the universe with any kind of certainty through these a priori philosophical arguments. The atheist has a way out. So really, to make the argument stronger, you need the scientific evidence. And with all scientific theories, tomorrow a new discovery might just totally overturn the evidence. It may be that Reasons to Believe will have to put out new editions of its books that concern the origin of the universe in the future, because maybe there might be new evidence that comes along that overturns the evidence for the origin of the universe. Now, that's the general. The more particular arguments is that the second premise runs into problems when you connect it to the fact that there's a multiverse. Mm-hmm. So some atheists have appealed to the multiverse idea to get around the origin of the universe. So rather than seeing the beginning of the universe at the Big Bang as an absolute beginning, maybe our universe was just sort of birthed from a prior universe of some kind. Maybe there are an infinite number of world ensembles out there that are wholly disconnected to our universe, and that explains the existence of our universe. My response to that is to simply cite Alexander Vilenkin, who says in his book Many Worlds in One that that new experiments have shown that even if there is a multiverse, it too must have an absolute origin.
Right.
So really, the existence of the multiverse would not affect the Kalam argument at all. What it might affect is the fine-tuning argument. So you might be able to appeal to the multiverse to get around the fine-tuning argument, which is a form of the design argument, which really has nothing to do with the Kalam cosmological argument. But you can't really appeal to the multiverse to get around this particular argument. And notice that by appealing to the multiverse, you are in a sense affirming that very first premise. You're saying, well, yeah, there is a cause to the universe, and it's this multiverse. And by appealing to the multiverse, you're being no less metaphysical than the theist. Got to remember that atheism is an outlook that eschews metaphysics. But when you appeal to a multiverse, you're appealing to something beyond the universe to explain the universe is coming into existence.
Well, even if you granted that the multiverse is eternal, let's say Vilenkin is incorrect.
Sure.
you still have a cause that exists outside the universe that brought
Yes.
our local universe into existence, which you could say is compatible with Hebrews 11:3, that what we see was made from that which we could not see.
Yes.
So it doesn't necessarily mean, if you look at that passage, that the universe was created out of absolute nothingness, but maybe, if an infinite multiverse, an eternal multiverse, might be viewed as being compatible with, again, that concept. But you still have to posit an eternally existing cause that brought the universe into existence.
Yes.
And scientifically, if you embrace methodological naturalism, then that uncaused cause is more comfortably understood as being a multiverse. But if you are open to theism, you could see that uncaused cause as having personality. So it seems to me that the argument, even in light of an eternally existing multiverse, still has some foundation or basis.
Yeah, I think that the very fact that a multiverse is being appealed to illustrates the strength of the argument. Dr. Ross has said that back in the 80s he was predicting that things like the multiverse would become sort of the last stand for naturalists once the evidence for an origin of the universe started accumulating. The multiverse was not the immediate go-to guy for naturalism when the evidence for the Big Bang first came out. First it was steady-state cosmology, then it was an oscillating universe. But these kinds of explanations have just sort of been swept away through the evidence. And so really the only appeal that the atheist has is to a metaphysical cause of the universe. Now, if you want to ask me what's the advantage of God over the multiverse, I think Occam's razor comes into play here. The atheist is postulating a bloated ontology, if there ever was one, an infinite number of universes vis-a-vis one simple personal creator, I think is no contest. Simplicity clearly goes to the creator who decided to create a universe out of nothing and bring it into existence. And then when you begin to add these other arguments, like Thomas's argument to this, and then later fine-tuning to this, a cumulative case for the creator makes a very strong case that God does really exist.